Statistics show that only 25% of couples have sex once a week, and that is despite the fact that research has proved that couples that have sex on a regular basis actually have a more healthy and a satisfactory relationship. So what should a Christian's response be when their marriage is lacking sex?
It's a difficult one, but it doesn't necessarily have to stay a difficult one.
Yeah, so here are 4 simple things to think about how you should respond. Firstly, understand that different people actually have different sex drives. Even if you're madly in love with each other, you're still different people.
Yeah, so, I mean, just because you're equally yoked, just because you're married, just because you might have been virgins before you got married, etc., etc. All of the things tick, 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 tick. But you're not exactly the same as each other.
No, so your drives are going to be different from each other.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and so the most important thing in how a Christian should respond if their marriage is lacking sex is to talk to your spouse.
Yeah. Talk to them. No, talk with them. That's a better one.
Yeah, that is much better.
Yeah. It's not a case of, well, why not? Or,
Tell me.
you know,
Tell me now.
it needs to be a bit more. It could be something quite serious.
Yeah.
You know, it could be something really personal, or it could be something very stressful, or things that are very stressful. It could be
Nothing to do with you.
nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Desire doesn't necessarily go away, but it might be that desire is over there somewhere, and there's some wall in front of it that is not of your doing or of their doing.
Yeah.
If you're watching this together, then, you know, it needs to be that you come together in understanding, because it could be something completely hopefully something completely outside of the marriage. It could be, let's say it's stress, for example. That has a profound effect on people. So how can we attack that? We don't attack the person, we attack the thing, whatever the problem is. And the first way of dealing with an outside problem, and hopefully it's an outside problem, is that you find out what the outside problem is.
And people might not actually realize the problem themselves, but having that conversation together and not just ignoring it, it's not going to go away. And you just you can just build up resentment.
Yeah.
And the Bible actually talks about don't let any root of bitterness come on. You don't want to be that bit that when you're trying to instigate and you're just being like thrown back in your face and you don't understand why, well, your spouse might not understand why either. You need to have that conversation and that they are able to be vulnerable. It may not be in the sort of physical intimacy, but in that emotional intimacy, let them be vulnerable. So make sure they're okay.
And the very thing you said is like being thrown back in the face. If Jodie might not be being thrown back in their face, but it could feel like it to the recipient, you know, because maybe the desire really hasn't gone anywhere, but there really could be a blockage. So it has to be something that you've got to delicately talk with each other. And that is...
And not in an accusational way. I think that's a really big thing, because if you go in it all guns blazing, or...
Why do you never want...
It's more a case of, I've noticed this, can we talk about this?
And you can gently work your way through a lot of the time.
Yeah,
you know.
Exactly. And I think the next point as well is that it's to pray, which sounds so cliche, but it does say to pray about all things.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, obviously it's a key thing. With that, I will also say, don't make that a crutch that, oh, I'm praying about it, okay, but you're not actually doing anything about it. You need to put legs on your prayer. Lord, please help my marriage sex life. Cool, but you're never actually talking to your spouse. You're never talking to your wife. You're never talking to your husband. You're just kind of hoping that God's going to like send down a lightning bolt and make you guys do things. It's not going to do that.
And to be honest, you could pray with them.
Yeah.
You know, you could pray with them. You could pray for them when they're
Also,
with you, you know?
Pray for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Because it could be something that you're causing a problem. Sometimes we can just blinkers as to what problem say you're causing yourself.
But
So pray,
it could be,
but make sure you put legs on your prayer. And God is really interested in your sex life. It's not like it's...
That sounds weird on its own,
It
though.
really does sound weird. But that's also partly because the church has often historically made sex such a taboo. But it's not. It's not a dirty thing. It's a thing that God has blessed marriages with.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a gift. It's a gift. And I mean, it's even talked about in the Bible.
Quite a lot of times, guys.
A lot. There's
Quite a lot.
You know what?
New and Old Testaments.
In the Old Testament, there's almost a whole book devoted to it, though. Like the one that you're not supposed to read when you're a child. Anyway.
But that goes on to is like actually talk to your spouse about sex.
Yeah, and that, it's an incredibly substantial part of your marriage. If it's wonky, then there's a problem. But when it's not wonky, it's a great strength.
And in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse says, do not deprive one another except with consent for a time. For why? That you may give yourselves to fasting and praying. So none of this like, oh, he's just getting on my nerves. Oh, she's just be like, you're not actually supposed to withhold. Now, does that mean that you're just supposed to lie back and think of England?
While the other person takes liberties.
That's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is that God is interested in it as a whole, and he doesn't want there to be strife and bitterness.
That's the key.
In your relationship.
Because God is concerned and not concerned. He is interested in relationship. In the very first beginning, he wanted relationship with mankind. So clearly, if we're made in the image of God and we're supposed to be following after him, then clearly we are supposed to have relationship. We are. And a healthy relationship in marriage, a healthy relationship includes this.
And so you do like actually talk about things. Talk about like, maybe you did something in your last time in the bedroom and the other person was not impressed or interested or did not like a thing. Discuss. Talk about it.
Repent, forgive, move on. That's an oversimplification.
Oversimplification. But even in that is try new things. Do you know what I mean? If you've been married for a long time, maybe you're just like, I don't want to do the same thing all the time. Sometimes, like for me personally, if I'm having jack and potato for dinner every single day.
That went a different direction than I was expecting.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying, right, you might want to do something different. You might not want to just do the same thing that you've always done for the last 10 years.
Mashed potato.
So what I'm trying to say is try new things and experiment.
Crisps.
And if you would like some advice, what Christians are allowed and not allowed to do in the bedroom, go and check out this video.
Yes, indeed.